Welcome to the introductory session of Flipped Classroom. In this video, we are going to find the answer to the following questions. What is flipped classroom pedagogy? What is happening in a flipped classroom? How flipped classroom differ from the traditional classroom? What are the 4 pillars that characterize flipped learning? Alright, let's introduce the key term, flipped classroom. Flipped classroom is a trendy teaching learning method. It is a form of blended learning. Then, what is blended learning? Blended learning is a teaching method which includes a combination of face-to-face and online teaching. What is happening in a flipped classroom? In flipped classroom, teacher use technology and share pre-class learning material to students at least 1 week before the face-to-face class. And students study the material before attending the face-to-face classroom. Teacher designed the face-to-face classroom as an interactive education environment by using student-centered teaching strategies for allowing the students to apply or evaluate the learned concepts. In post-class setting, students receive the opportunity to solve newly emerging issues of learned concepts. I'm sure you can now differentiate the flipped classroom from the traditional classroom. In a traditional classroom, students come to the face-to-face classroom, which is the first instance they expose to the new knowledge. Teacher can give home tasks to students. Then they can apply the learned knowledge in their own environment with minimal support. In flipped classroom, students get the basic information before attending face-to-face classroom through pre-class learning material. Students attend the face-to-face classroom so then they can apply the learned concept with guidance from teacher. Post-class activities that are designed for checking students' understanding and extending their learning. Alright, the main difference in the flipped classroom is you are changing the venue of low-order learning and high-order learning. In a traditional classroom, low-ordered learning usually happens inside the classroom, and high-ordered learning occurs outside the classroom. But in flipped classroom, this process happens the other way around, whereby the low-order learning occurs outside the classroom and high-order learning happens inside the classroom. Make sure you remember this. Just reverting classroom activities is not merely cause flipped learning. Then, what should we consider for achieving flipped learning in a flipped classroom? We can consider a 4 pillars model of flipped learning while developing flipped classroom pedagogy. The 4 pillars are flexible learning environment, learning culture shift, intentional content, and professional educators. The pillar number 1 is flexible learning environment. This involves creating flexibility in classroom setup and enable flexible time frame for accommodate different learning activities. This includes rearranging the room, putting students in various groups, having students move around the classroom, using virtual learning environment, and allowing flexibility in time for doing pre-class learning and assessment. Pillar number 2 is learning culture shift. This is where the teacher's role is changing from an information provider to facilitator. Here, teachers need to realize that there is going to be a shift to their student-centered learning, and students should take ownership of their learning. In flipped classroom, the students is getting the content before the session. They are accountable for learning the content outside of the classroom and applying the learned concept in face-to-face classroom. Moving on to the pillar 3, intentional content. This means it is a meaningful choice of instructional content both for pre-class and in-class. The ultimate aim of intentional content is maximizing the use of in-classroom time to adapt active learning strategies for achieving meaningful learning. The last pillar of the flipped learning is professional educator. This primarily refers to a person who is accepting the role change of learning director to a facilitator. There are going to be someone who is conducting formative assessment of student learning, reflecting on their practice, creating attractive learning material, and collaborating with other teachers to improve their practice. So let's review what we learn in this video. We talk about what is flipped classroom pedagogy, how flipped classroom differ from the traditional classroom, and 4 pillars that characterize flipped learning. I enjoy talking about this topic in this video, and I hope you are able to apply this flipped learning model to your classroom. Thank you for joining us.